Hey there, I'm Shy Fox, and in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make animated emotes. This is a full step-by-step guide where I'm going to show you everything you need to know to animate your emotes, including how to make your emote blink, have moving parts, have moving hair, how to set up your art for animation, and how to export it at the end. Subscribe if you want more animating and emote creating tutorials. All right, let's get into how to create your own animated emotes for Twitch, and of course, anywhere else you want to use them. So the first thing we need to do is set up your art for animation. And you can make your emote, of course, in any art program you want. You just need to be able to export it when you're done as a PSD file, which is a Photoshop file. So you need to create a PSD file with everything simplified into layers for the parts that we want to animate. So here I have an example. This is the one we're going to use today to animate. I've got my Sailor Moon here, and everything is simplified onto individual layers. Over on the right, you can see them. So what I did is I created this emote on a larger canvas size than usual. I usually create on 500 by 500, but this one, when I went to color it and everything, I made it 600 by 600. And then when we're done, we're going to crop it again smaller. But the reason we need extra space is because, let's say the hair is moving around, it's going to come on and off screen. So we need to extend out how far the image is of each layer in case they move off the screen. So I'm going to make it 500 by 500 just to show you the actual cropping. This is what it'll actually be like cropped. But again, we need to give ourselves more space for the moving parts to be animated. So that's just my first point when you're setting your art, prepping it for animation. And so then I'll show you my layers and what's on them. The wing in the back has its own layer. Then there's the shoulder. And I didn't bother drawing what's over here because I knew it wouldn't be seen. So that's just planning ahead. I knew I wouldn't need it. But you do have to fill in the gaps for certain things if you think the movement is going to like move out of the way. Something like if I thought the heart was going to move all the way like over here or something, I'd have to fill in this, right? I'd have to fill that in. But I know that I'm only going to do a little bit of moving, so we're good. And then the eyes, and then if you're going to do a blink, you're going to want to do a closed eyes version too. So this is how I've set it up. And then I've also named my layers. I missed naming a couple, so I'm just going to call this shoulder, and I'm going to call this one head. One thing I often do with my art is I like to have a nice thick border on the outside of my artwork for my emotes. But when it comes to animating, it's literally like the very last step. It's better to not include it in the artwork part because the parts do move and then the borders don't like move with it. The borders would be static. So it'll make sense when we get to the borders part if you like having a thick border in your art. Here's just an example of a different one just so I can show you the border quick. The border will come off for animating. And in this one, I prepped it so that when I draw it, this white square is the 500 by 500. So I know what's actually in the frame. And then, yeah, so the border, it's nice for your static still emotes, whatever, if you like that. But then we're going to take it off, get rid of it for the sake of simplifying our layers. We will make a moving border at the end that goes on the outside of the whole emote. So now that we're done the art, it's all prepped, saved it as a PSD file. We're just going to have a quick look at what we need to know before we animate for Twitch. There are some guidelines. So Twitch animated emotes, the image uploaded should be sized as a GIF. So that's the file format we'll export as at the end. Between 112 by 112 pixels, and you can go up this high, which is really big, but we won't go that big because our 1 megabyte file size is put a restraint on how big we can do this. GIF in a square shape, again, that 1 megabyte file size, and we just need the one file because of the auto resize. This is good to know. The thumbnail for the animated emote will default to the first frame of the GIF. If you want to create a different thumbnail, this can be overridden with a static image. That's just good to know. GIF images cannot be more than 60 frames. This is important for when we make our composition as a first step in Adobe Premiere Pro. Must not flash or flicker more than 3 times within 1 second period. Great. Let's go to After Effects now. New composition, and we got to set this up. The first thing we're going to do is make this 500 by 500 pixels. That is the frame size that we want. The frame rate is good at 29.97, essentially 30 frames per second is what we want. That's fine. And then we're going to change 30 seconds to 2 seconds. We don't want to do more than a 2-second animation because we are only allowed 60 frames per second on Twitch. So 2 seconds at 30 frames a second, that equals 60. So we can't really do more than 2 seconds. And the background color, this may matter so that we can see. I'm gonna change it to a light gray. And we're set, so click OK. We may wanna go ahead and save right away, save your project file. And then bringing in your PSD file into Adobe After Effects is a very exact process and was one of the hardest things I had to learn for this in the beginning. So I'll show you exactly what to do and slowly explain. And it's confusing because there's like compositions inside compositions, and you can have a composition inside a composition, and that means probably nothing to you yet if you don't have a lot of experience, but it will matter. So I'm going to explain it to you. And do follow these exact steps or the layers might get all messed up. So step 1, file new composition. We did that. The next step, so this is your main composition file, the one that we created. And you can see its tab here in the timeline. Great, that's what we already have. We haven't even imported our artwork yet. So the next thing we're gonna do is go File, Import, File. Make sure you definitely find the location of that Photoshop file you just saved and that it's the Photoshop PSD and not like your After Effects document, or you'll get confused. You can leave this unchecked, the create composition. We're going to do that manually. All right, so we're going to import that and then choose composition, retain layer sizes, and choose editable layer styles. And again, we're being exact. So the very exact next thing we need to do is double click the file we just imported. Double click. Perfect. Now we have our artwork with all our layers. Now this one, because the original Photoshop file was 600 by 600, it's done that. I'm actually going to change my composition preferences for this. Composition settings, and I'm going to change it to 500 by 500, and the best part is that doesn't crop it. The layer information is still there, and I'm going to change this again to light gray. This is a separate composition from the first one we made. This one we want to be inside of this one. You can think of a folder inside a folder, and that's why this is so confusing. The reason we changed the composition size and that background color again is because these are actually separate. If you remember when I said confusing composition inside a composition thing, I'm going to explain that. And I'm going to use a paint program to do it because otherwise it's just so darn confusing. So we can pretend that this is our emote head. I'm drawing with my mouse, mouth and eyes. They're on another layer. And then maybe a body, okay? So we have 3 layers. You can think of that as what our program currently has with all these layers like this, right? And they exist inside this folder called, in this case, Princess Sailor Moon, because that's the name of our emote. What we wanna do is put it inside a folder. So you can think of it as making a folder. A composition inside a composition is just our layers inside a folder. So now I just put all these inside my folder. So it's like this folder is a composition, and then these 3 layers are my sub-composition inside my folder. And the reason this matters is because if we want to do something to all of the layers, like add a border that we might do at the end or any other kind of effect, it will apply to all the layers. That is why we have a composition inside a composition. In an artwork, it might mean we do something like we do like a glow. We just make the whole thing glow, and it's going to do it to all the layers. rather than just one of them, right? So hopefully that visual demonstration just kind of solidified that a composition within a composition is like putting all your layers in a folder and then applying something like a layer effect to the folder so that it can apply that effect to all the layers. So we actually need to put our emote layers, these, into this. So what we're going to do is go back to clicking the tab for composition 1. We didn't name it or anything. And then drag this down into here. Great, now it exists inside there. But when we do our animating, we will do it mostly from here. If there's an effect we want to happen to all the layers, then we work from this composition tab. But for the most part, we might not even do that. We might just work on individual layers in here. Now, don't panic if you were actually like totally lost on this composition discussion. You can kind of just ignore it then, or just follow the steps and just worry about the tab here, the composition that actually has the layers. So don't be discouraged. And by the way, if you accidentally like close one of these, you accidentally exit out, you can just get it back by double clicking it from here, from your source material. Boom, it's back. And then if the whole composition window is closed, then you're just going to go to Window and you can look for it, and it's called Timeline. And if you close any panel, then you can get them back under Window. Now we get the opportunity to actually animate. The very first thing I think is always worth doing with these emotes is changing the anchor point of the head. In a lot of these animations, the head may wobble, you know, a little bit back and forth. So we just need to move the anchor point. I'm going to look for my head layer, which I've named, and you can name them in here if you forgot. And I double clicked it accidentally and it brought this out. So it's all by itself. Up here, we also have the layer visually seen by itself. So there's tabs up here, back to the composition tab, and the layer head is all by itself. I suppose you could edit and do things from here. We're not going to get that detailed, but I didn't mean to open it, so I'm just going to close it. So from here we have our head, and the anchor is always in the middle by default. We're just going to move it. So at the very top, we can see there is a square with arrows in it. So click this one, and then you have the ability to move that anchor, and you just kind of move it to about where the chin is, where you'd like it to rotate from. So that's just set up now. We're going to leave that. Now we want to attach our facial features to the head. So I'm going to select them. We have eyes open, eyes closed. That's pretty much all I have for this one. So select them both. I just did click, click, control to select both. And then there's these swirlies. It says parent pick. We're going to pull this and drag it to the head. Now, if we wobble that head back and forth, they will be all connected. They move together. The head is now the parent layer, where the eyes will mimic what the head does. That's going to be important. Now let's just take a look at our timeline for a second. This is where your animation will happen over time. You can see that it goes up to 2 seconds right here. And if I hit my spacebar, it'll start playing. We can see that animation playing because the red line is going across. Over on the right, if you want to hit the preview tab, you can control it from here. You can hit play and watch it go. As a general rule, one thing I do when animating is, because we want our animation to loop seamlessly, as in the very last frame of the animation needs to smoothly transition into the first frame of the animation starting over again. We want a smooth loop so that when we make a change to one of the layers, like maybe the head does move back and forth a little bit, we need to make sure we have keyframes that match the beginning and the end. So we're going to practice that and do that for every single one of these layers. Another general tip for your animations is that I recommend making sure your animation movements are bigger, larger, and more exaggerated, more noticeable, because with emotes, when they are small, you won't notice the animation much. So more exaggerated is better for that small size animated emote. So the first thing I'm gonna have her do with the head is rotate her head a little bit. I think I'm gonna have her kind of cuddle the heart a little bit, so she'll rotate her head leaning into the heart a bit. So to begin, I'm gonna open the head layer, drop down arrow, and then automatically transform is here. And then we have all these options to adjust. These little timer icons, we're gonna click them to create a keyframe. I want my like time indicator to be at the very beginning of my animation. So it's all the way back here. Make sure you zoomed out, not like zoomed in. So I'm gonna zoom out. It's at the very beginning. And then I'm going to put a keyframe for rotation. I think I'd like the head to just rotate a little bit. So it's positioned as it is like this. I will move my timeline indicator down, and I think I'll have her, whoa, the head's crazy. You see how the eyes are attached? And I'm just gonna have it be a little bit subtle. So she's gonna lean in just a little bit. So lean in a little bit, and then I'd like her head to move back to that position at the very end. So I'm going to copy paste it. So I just copy pasted that first keyframe, copy paste, and now it'll move back. So this is what I'm talking about with that loop, so that it'll do over and over smoothly what you want it to do. I see I have a bit of a, this is coming up on the spot, a layer issue where my heart that she's holding is going in behind her eyeball. That looks weird. So as these things come up, we'll fix them. We're gonna move that big heart to the top then. I just dragged and dropped it. Big heart is the first layer. It is on top. Now, instead of her head just going back and forth, I'm gonna have her head kind of pause and kind of cuddle that heart. So I'm actually gonna copy this keyframe and maybe have it, her head position there for longer. So she'll go down, hold her head there, and it looks a little robotic. She's like an animatronic dinosaur right now. So we're gonna, that's actually funny. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna have her hold that position longer too. So we can just drag these points around to where we want them to be. Let's drag that there. Is that long enough? Little cuddle, maybe even longer. Okay, and then I'm gonna select all of them, drag all of these key points that I have. And so they're all highlighted blue. That means they're selected. I'm gonna right click one of them and I'm gonna go keyframe assistant. This is like magic. And then pick easy ease. It's gonna be a little more realistic and less robotic. It eases in and out of the animation movements, kind of slowing down before it stops, that kind of thing. Now I've got the big heart, as I called it, layer selected. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn off all these little heart ones. They're gonna fly up afterwards. Okay, I think as she's leaning in for the cuddle, we'll make the heart grow bigger a little bit and position it maybe in a different spot, or maybe rotate, I don't know. At the moment, I think it'd be good then to keyframe them all into position at the beginning of the timeline. So we're gonna go rotation, scale, position, because we're gonna experiment. And then I'm gonna do this at the end again. We'll just copy paste them. So now it'll end and begin in the same place for our looping animation. And then she leans in. Okay, and she's gonna bring that heart up to her face maybe a little bit. We could move it up and it automatically puts a keyframe in that position. So she could move it up just a touch. It's already just a little bit of movement like that, right? And we could rotate it. Do we like that idea? Let's try it out. Well, we're gonna have to watch how I do this because I didn't draw the rest of the arm, so I could rotate it this way. How does that look? Huh, not bad. So I think I'm gonna make it a little more subtle. There's a lot of trial and error with this, so you just wanna have the courage to experiment. And sometimes subtle's okay. I mean, I know I talk about exaggerating the movements, but overall, this one's going to have a lot of different moving parts. So as a whole, I think it'll be a lot. There'll be a lot going on. We need to finish off how this heart transitions out. So we will drag this. We'll do a hold. She's going to hold it for pretty much as long as she leans in for it. So she leans in, hold. Okay, maybe about there. Let's try that. That's good. Oh, there's a little flicker happening. I see the problem. If you find out your like layers are disappearing, it's probably because this purple gray bar got touched. Just make sure it's remains for the full duration of those 2 seconds. Just pull it back. I do that a lot. Perfect. Eyes now. So I keep my selection tool on. That's this one. And with my eyes layer on, I keep my closed eye layer turned off during editing because it just looks wacko. So let's just have the visual eyeball turned off for the moment. And we'll have her again squint her eyes closed at about the moment she is hugging this heart. So I'm gonna go here. We're gonna click the scale keyframe. Boop, we've created one here. And that's where it's gonna begin to change. And now it's very important that we unclick this link button. So it automatically will be like this. There's a little like 2 links linked together little icon. Turn it off because that's gonna let us distort the eyes to make them shrink and close. All right, we're gonna move a few frames over, 1, 2, 3 maybe. And we can drag these to be like distorted here. Distort them. And it's kind of an imperfect distortion, but it happens so fast that I don't think it matters a whole lot. And by this point, we will have the opacity of the eyes also disappear. So we're gonna click opacity to begin that keyframe, and the very next one, we'll have it go to 0. So those eyes disappear now. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is get those closed eyes ones turned on, eyeball here, but we don't want them on all the time. We just want them on for a little bit. I showed you this purple gray bar already. We can use it actually in this moment to only have it appear for a select amount of time. So yeah, this layer is only gonna appear where this purple gray bar is. So I think we'll have her lean in, close those eyes. I might have to adjust some things. Close those eyes and keep them closed till she starts moving again. So then I can drag from the other end and those eyes will just be open for this amount of time. Now the key is, of course, we got to turn these other eyes back on. I like to kind of just copy paste to get the same thing back in place. We're going to move it over one. Oh. And then we can copy paste these in reverse order. We're reversing the exact animation. I'm not liking how slanted up this eye is over there, so we can use rotation to compensate for that, I would say. Let's experiment. So we'll put a rotation keyframe in here, and then to hold this position so it doesn't do anything weird to start with. And then as they close, we'll just have them rotate a bit. And because they seem a little high on the face, I'm actually going to position them down as well. So there's lots of steps happening here. Let's position those keyframes here for position. Okay, back to the beginning of the blink animation. Put our timeline indicator at the beginning. We're going to hit position, the position keyframe as well. Hold that. As it closes, we will have it go down just a smidge. This is just perfectionism, I guess. Oh yes, see, those are at about the right height now. So when we go from eyes, you know, partially open to closed, they're in the same spot. Let's play our animation as to how it looks so far. That's looking good. Let's make some of the hearts fly up that we have, those little ones in the back. Okay, I'm gonna turn this one on so I can see it. I think by the time she's snuggling the heart is a good time for hearts to fly up. So again, I'm going to choose this bar and just have it only active for the part that we want it active for. Okay, let's look at transforming it. I would like it to begin actually behind the heart a little bit more. So I'm going to position it down and create that first keyframe by clicking here. Now we haven't talked about this yet, but if you want to create additional keyframes, you can't just keep re-clicking the keyframe icon. You have to click this dot. So we could click another one if we wanted, just like that. We're gonna have it go up first. And for the most part, if we make changes, it'll automatically apply a keyframe. But if it doesn't, then you just click this dot and it'll make a keyframe for you. So we're gonna have it go up, and then maybe we'll have it go side to side a little bit as well. So we'll have it go to this side first. So it's moving diagonally this way. I might make it rotate as it goes. So I'm gonna get the rotation also keyframed in, make a keyframe, and maybe as it comes to this side, it rotates like this. Up a little bit, and we're gonna go to the other side. It's probably moving too fast, so we're gonna really have to spread these out. Let's have it rotate the other way. There is also a quicker way to do this, where when you're positioning these hearts for movement, you can drag. Just make sure you're careful about that the anchor point stays in the middle, or it'll get a little weird. So you can just kind of drag them on the path that they're on as you move the timeline indicator as well. And then you can see the path that they go. This might be the easier way to do it, honestly. And then you just go back in and rotate these. Let's see how that all looks. Definitely not perfect, but it's quite fine. It would be nice to have the hair move a little bit, maybe the wing move a little bit, maybe even the shoulder. And for this, we're going to use the puppet tool. The puppet tool is really cool. So at the very top, there is a little pin button. This is puppet position. This is our puppet tool. And we're gonna do it first to maybe the hair. I think that might be fun to try. So I've got the head all as one layer. If you wanna do advanced hair movement, I strongly recommend doing your hair pieces in kind of individual layers. So you might have the bangs on one layer and each of the ponytails on their own layer. I'm doing something simple so they can just all be on one layer. So I'm going to click that head layer, and I've got my puppet tool clicked, and I'm going to drag this to be the beginning of the timeline, and I'm just going to start pinning things that I want to hold still. The only pieces on the head that I'm gonna have move are just kind of the ponytails. So I'm gonna put some pins, just click some pins around, and these are gonna make some dots on things you want to generally hold still. And this is, never mind the rotating head we've already done. That's kind of beside the point. It will move regardless. This is an additional animation to go on top of that. So I'm just pinning things that can just hold still. I could also, in a more advanced animation, have the earring move, but again, it would need its own layer, and this little curly hair piece, that could move. Again, its own layer would be probably needed. So those things are gonna hold still. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna add a few more here. I, from experience, know that we probably just need more there. We will have everything remain as it is to begin with. I think I'll have the hair moving from this point down here and this point down here. These are the ones I'm actually going to pull and move. I'm going to have the animation go about this far, and maybe we'll have the hair move up and out a little bit. That one's subtle. I did give it some movement there. And then I would like the pin to end in the same spot again. So I have to find the end pin. So we have the head effects puppet, open mesh, open deform, and then there's my 1000 puppet pins. You got to find the one that you moved. So that would be this one, puppet pin 27. Okay, and I'm gonna take its position from where it started and paste it at the end. And I'll probably put this one partway through as well. Make those play back in reverse. Let's do the other one. So it's gonna be no doubt puppet pin 28. We're gonna have it begin where it is, and then partway through we'll have it move. So we'll drag it to about the same point as the other one, and we'll have it move maybe out. Try out, or we can even try in. Maybe in. Would in be cute? I think it depends on what we do with the wing. We could have it move. We could have it move out and away. I'm gonna move it around and see what it does if I give it a little bit of movement back and forth. And then I'm gonna copy paste this last one into position. Let's see if that looks weird. But you can see you can do like more movementy things. So the hair kind of wobbles back and forth, which is probably a little more realistic. If you really want these to look nice, you're gonna just have to experiment, move things around. I think the hair is just moving too much. I'm gonna make it like more subtle. Yeah, I actually really like the subtle look of this better. I'm gonna fix the other side too to just be a little more subtle. Sometimes less is more. I know I said to exaggerate, but if it's kind of like this one, lots of little details, the details maybe can just be a little more subtle. Okay, let's puppet the wing. So I've got the wing selected, my puppet tool is selected. Bring this indicator down to the beginning of the timeline, and I'm gonna put some puppet pins. I'm gonna pin along where the wing kind of attaches to the body. That's good. And then I'm gonna have one pin that's gonna kind of be the moving pin in the middle end there. All right, so it'll start there. I'm gonna put that first keyframe down here. And I might have it move up just a bit, down just a bit, kind of like subtle wing movements. We'll see how it looks. Down, and then I'm going to copy paste this last keyframe so it can go around in a loop. That looks decent, that looks okay. The last thing I'm going to try to puppet warp is the shoulder, just to see if her raising her shoulder just a bit looks good. So I'm going to place the puppet pins to begin with around where I want them to hold still, hold still, hold still, hold still. And then to begin with, we will have, I'll have her shoulder maybe rise up a bit. So maybe about there is good. Pull this in as she leans in, and this gets pulled maybe up just a bit. Just subtle is nice, right? Yeah, and then let's have it hold. Okay, we're gonna have to copy paste some points. Find that last point we had. Copy, paste, and get that last one copy and pasted. Let's see if that does what we want. As a whole, it looks really good, even though it's kind of like some of it's really imperfect. Like The heart's moving up, the wing and the hair, I think are all kind of awkward, but as a whole, it looks pretty good. So trust the process. Now, we do have one last step that I think is important. We talked about wanting to add a border at the end. So to do this, we go to Composition 1. Composition 1 should, in a sense, do the exact same thing as the emote composition name that we did, because this one is again inside this one. So, okay, we have the entire composition shown right inside of here. Yep. So what we want to do now in Composition 1 is we're going to right click your emote kind of like folder. Right click and we're going to go Layer Styles and we're going to do Stroke. And then drop down Stroke so we can make changes. Obviously we want this to be black or whatever color, I guess. And then you can change the size. So maybe I'll do something more subtle and I'll do a 2. There is a catch with the stroke. It can fail to work properly if you had little pixels drawn on your layers that weren't supposed to be there. So I'm just going to zoom in. You see these little nasties right here. This actually looks like it's going to fail for me. And I think the lesson in it for me is I sketched the outside, like I did my line work with a pencil brush. So that pencil brush doesn't look so good. So I'd probably have to fix the edges of my emote to not have pencil edges. A pen tool is far better for that line art to be like smooth and exact. If you use like a pencil, it gets a little pixelaty and it doesn't look so good. So for this one, I could just be like, yeah, okay, no, we're not gonna have a border. We could get away with that, but I probably will go back and fix it. You can just open up Photoshop and make some edits and reopen it up here. As long as you don't change the name of the file or the save location or anything, you could go back into like a Photoshop or whatever to fix your document and then reopen it in here. But that is how you add that stroke, that border on the outside, and it actually works really well. It looks really good on all the other emotes I've done in my examples. You'll better see that. But this one, I see the failure in it was just that line work. The line art layer was done in a pencil, and I think I was just doing something artsy that day, and now I'm regretting it. Well, you live and you learn. Trying new things is good, and things can be fixed. We're just gonna say we're happy with this emote. It's all finished. How pretty. No border, but it's fine. If you want to change how fast your emote is playing, your animation is playing, you can speed it up. For example, you can right click in your main composition, not this one, your main composition, you're going to right click and you're going to click on time stretch, and stretch factor. This is like a percentage. Let's make it twice as fast. So we're going to put it to 50. That's going to make it a 1 second animation. It's going to make it fast. This will also reduce the size of your emote animation. If it's over that 1 megabyte, just speeding it up might help. But the catch here, of course, is we have to drag this to be 1 second. There we go. Now it's 1 second long. Woohoo! It's moving too fast. I thought the pace was good, so we're not going to do this. I just wanted to show you how to do it. We're ready to export now, so not this one. Click the main composition, the one that's the bigger composition with the other one inside of it. So composition, file, export, and then we're going to add to media encoder. We can't use render queue because it doesn't have the GIF file option, and we need them to be GIFs. Otherwise, you could use this for other animations. So if for whatever reason, when you click add to Adobe Media Encoder queue and it gives you some kind of error, it probably means you either don't have your media encoder updated, or the version of your Adobe After Effects isn't compatible with the version of the media encoder. So you just need to make sure they're like updated and you're using the right ones. And I will add that if for whatever reason you get stuck at this point and you can't get the media encoder to work, I have an alternate tutorial on kind of like a workaround kind of weird way to do it using an external like method. It's certainly not ideal, but if you really do get stuck, then I'll put a link for this other video. You can check the description or click the top right if you're stuck. We should be able to do this. Add to media encoder. Let's click it. It's going to open up media encoder, which is technically a separate Adobe program. So the first thing we're going to do when the media encoder is open is click this, the H264, and we need to change it to animated GIF. So animated GIF right here. And we want animated GIF with transparency. That's important so that we don't have any sort of background with our emote. We want it transparent. Use maximum render quality, put that on. Then I'm just gonna click OK. We can leave pretty well everything else. And then we wanna change that output file location. We wanna make sure it saves somewhere we want it to save and give it a name. You can also just change the settings from here. You can click this drop down and click animated GIF, and that works just as well. So we can do it that way too. But if you make any changes, this will just say custom, which is good. Let's give that a go. Start. And we're just gonna give that a preview. It's magical, it's wonderful, it's finished. Well, that completes our emote animation tutorial. I hope you learned some things and can use it in your emote making adventures. Leave a comment if you have any video suggestions on things you want to see me make a tutorial about or anything, questions. I respond to almost all of my comments that I get, so do that, and you know, that always really helps my videos as well. If you just leave a thanks comment or something like that, like if you liked it, of course, and subscribe if you you know, liked it. Okay, have a good one. Bye guys.